Hey guys, Wrestling Throwdown here. I'm Haley, and there's something going on with the Google, but that's alright. It looks a little weird, but I'm Haley, and this is Joe, and we are going to talk about. Now, we were going to talk about Raw review, but since Raw was really, really crappy, and obviously there was just one topic that everyone was hung up on, obviously it was talked about the whole show since it happened right before the show, like 5 minutes right before the show. It was obviously planned that way. But obviously, there's gotten some new information in the past few days, and I'm kind of glad. So then we can kind of talk about this whole thing together. Give our opinions. I know people have been asking me certain questions about if I still like Seth and blah blah blah. So I'll answer all those questions here. But obviously, what happened pretty much was there's still some, we're probably still never going to know the whole story to this. It's obviously what Triple H called it was very personal, and he did say that no actions were going to be taken against Seth because he was indeed hacked. And obviously he did not notice the pictures until, because he was in the, really didn't have his phone until like, what, 30 minutes in, because he was kind of in the first segment. So, well, second segment, I guess. He was involved in that match. But he obviously did not see the photos taken until 15, maybe 20 minutes after they were actually posted. And they were obviously posted and deleted multiple times throughout the night by not only on his account, but on his ex-fiancée Layla Schultz's account. So, and everyone was kind of, asking, maybe they were both hacked, maybe something was going on. But obviously now with the information we have, now that she changed her relationship status to single and she deleted or deactivated her Twitter account, and it looks like now she has a new Twitter up already. So, and she's following both of them and wrestling something. So obviously she loves how this is going down. But, this whole thing's pretty much a mess because this, obviously, we're lucky that it did not affect his job, but it could have affected his job because supposedly they signed a new contract, and now that it's a PG show, I guess they can't have any pornographic photos on their Twitter thing or they will be, fired or whatever. But I guess, obviously, since Triple H obviously and Vince really like him, and since he is the future right now and they're really pushing him, I mean, I guess obviously they took that into consideration, and they also did say that they're trying to let this whole thing die down too, and I guess they told people in the back, WWE talent not to talk about it in interviews or anything. Don't mention it when a fan or whatever comes up to them, just nothing. And obviously, I would hope not a fan wouldn't ask them, but there are going to be some fans that probably ask about this. But, Joe, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, obviously, the initial reaction from WWE is damage control. They're trying to nip the problem in the butt. Obviously, it's all over the internet. We've seen the memes. We've all seen the reaction by now. I mean, my first reaction is I feel like Seth Rollins is getting off easy on this one in terms of the company. I kind of compare it to the Edge, Lita, Matt Hardy situation. Obviously, this was before the internet really blew up. But if you remember, Matt Hardy really didn't do anything wrong. And, of course, he would proudly tell you in his vindicated way. But he did nothing wrong. Lita, who was his real-life girlfriend, Amy Dumas, his real-life fiancée, whatever it was, for years. Matt Hardy got hurt. Lita started cheating on him with Edge. We all know the rest. Matt Hardy gets fired. Edge gets pushed to the moon. Money in the Bank. And then, they end up having the feud bringing Matt back. But Matt was really never the same after that. Obviously, there is no other party here. Well, the other party is the NXT Diva. What's her name? Zahara?
Zahara something. Yeah, I guess she just got signed recently a few months ago. I've never even heard of her. And supposedly the real messed up thing in this too is she's actually engaged too to some guy in a band or something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I can only look at it from a business standpoint. And honestly, I feel like WWE's going to fire her. I mean, they're going to put the blame on her.
I think they need to fire her. I really do, because Seth, there's a difference. I mean, Seth, yeah, he knows he messed up and everything like that, but she's not, she's supposedly only a model anyways. She's supposedly only used for like Eva Marie purposes too, because Eva Marie, I guess, wasn't signed obviously for a WWE wrestler, so she's signed for like, I don't know, to be a ballet, something. Who the hell knows, but she's a manager. I don't know.
Some
But
more on Divas in the future.
yeah. But so, and she's only been there for 2 months. So they're saying though, they're also saying she's not going to be affected by this too. That's what Triple H said. Like, both of them are not supposed to be affected.
Surprising.
And I think that that's kind of like, I think that maybe they're gonna, because this isn't dying down. They think that it's gonna die down in a week. It's still kind of crazy all over on the just every single like daily news, everything, like every single website, every single news thing has heard about this and has posted stuff obviously about this. So this is a big topic.
Well, yeah, and it obviously superseded Raw, and that's another thing to bring up here is that this happened during Raw, and Raw was very flat this week. Obviously, really not a lot of storylines. They're trying to hype the whole, Bryan and Roman match. Other than that, there really wasn't a lot of storylines to come out of Raw. Kind of the same old shit. And in fact, I was very disappointed we did not get an NXT showcase match hyping NXT Rival tonight live on the WWE Network, which I will be watching. Best wrestling on TV, damn straight. But, I mean, as far as Seth goes, I mean, let's not take him off the hook here. I mean, look, just last week in the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast, Triple H was asked, about China and her WWE Hall of Fame status. And his response was, very uncomfortably, I might add, well, her body of work speaks for itself. She was a trailblazer, and if you're looking at it just on the body of work, yeah. However, if you Google her, then, and, I have 3 daughters, is what he said, and we all know what comes up, pornographic things and all that stuff. China has certainly been involved in her fair share of yucky stuff throughout the years, and we'll leave it at that. Now, aren't they hypocritical? And obviously that's Triple H's ex, and there's probably heat there with Stephanie and him and her to this day. We've seen China open up in recent interviews, kind of burying X-Pac and Triple H and stuff, so obviously there's no love lost on either party. You look at Seth Rollins, he's almost where Randy Orton was 10 years ago. He's clearly, one of the chosen guys, the brass ring club, if you will, one of the chosen guys. And I really don't think he's going to be de-pushed from this. I mean, I think he might lose a few matches maybe as punishment. I think maybe he was probably going to go over on Randy Orton at WrestleMania, where now if that matchup happens, I definitely see Randy winning. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how they'll passive-aggressively teach him a lesson. I don't think he'll lose the Money in the Bank. I don't think he'll be unsuccessful at cashing in Money in the Bank. But you never know. I mean, if this fallout continues to be negative, we all know this company is very reactionary. So further action can be taken by both the young NXT diva and by Seth Rollins. Obviously it's a very sticky situation. I can kind of look at it from 2 ways. Here's a guy who's 29 years old. It's from Davenport, Iowa. I don't know if you've ever been to Iowa. I certainly haven't. Doesn't exactly seem like, a burgeoning area where there's a lot of people. And he probably grew up a wrestling fan like me and you. Probably wasn't the most popular guy in the world. Got into wrestling, obviously, early age with the Indies, Ring of Honor. I think he's been with the fiance, Leia is her name?
Mm-hmm,
or Layla?
Leila. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Been with her for, 5-6 years. Probably one of the first pretty girls that actually paid attention to Seth. No offense to him. But, probably starting out his wrestling career. And, sometimes girls will flock to you. And I'm not trying to question her intentions or his intentions. Let's not get this twisted. All I'm trying to say is 29 years old. Now he's rich and famous. He's all over television. And it doesn't look good for him. Obviously, she also tweeted some of the text, I believe, between him.
Well, she mocked him. I don't know if that was just if those were his exact words that she found to the girl, the Zahara girl, or if she was mostly mocking him and thinking that's what they were talking about because of the pictures. I don't know exactly that whole story.
Well, as they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and certainly that was her way of exacting revenge on Seth. And was she trying to hurt his career? Yeah, damn right. But you know what? in that frame of mind, I really can't blame her. She just found her fiance of 5 years, probably discovered something, whether it's on his tablet or, you're saying he had his phone. So obviously she must have discovered something, or she knew about this for a little while and decided to put it blast on social media during Raw when his name
That's
was.
what I'm pretty sure this whole thing was planned, because the way she did it 2 minutes before Raw started, and I noticed something was going on because I get Seth's tweets right to my phone. I have like a notifications thing, and I seen a tweet, and so I click on it, and it was already deleted. So it just kept popping up and popping up and popping up. Now, to me, all three of them are guilty in this. All three of them are pretty much, they have something they really should regret. Layla with the pictures, I think that's far above the line. That she totally crossed it. I think that all three of them need to be professional in this and be adults, mature adults, and settle it like. Now, I feel like if they didn't go out as long as they did, because obviously they've been together for, I think, 7 years, since he was 21, and he's going to be 29 this year, so in a few months. So they've been together for obviously almost 8 years, and they've been engaged for almost a year now. So it seems like the cheating started happening as soon as right after he proposed to her and he turned heel, because that's exactly what a fan said. I don't know if this is true or not. Supposedly it is. She says that she has great proof. I don't know if you've seen that video or seen the interview. I guess one of his fans, and she's obviously a very beautiful girl too. I've seen pictures of her, but she, I guess, posted a picture of something on his Instagram, and he said, "Oh, send more." I don't know what happened, but the thing is the way he talks about Layla in interviews it seems like she's not supportive at all. And I feel like if he really knew this and if he really felt like this, because I guess he says that as soon as a fan walks up to her, she gets really, really annoyed, and she says, "I can't wait till this is over." And she says all this stuff, and this is his words too. I've heard it in his interviews. This is his words. But and he also said, I guess she's not really supportive of him, and he says like, "Oh, I'll tell her like I got something, like I'm getting money in the bank, or I'm getting a push," and she'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," and like she won't even care. Like this was his words. He goes, "Yeah, I told her the other night that I was getting a push," and she goes, "Oh, that's great. Take out the trash." That was his words. That's what she said, I guess. But in reality, I do think that if he really did feel this way, and if he really was this miserable, break up with her. Why even propose to her? Unless the problems happened right after he proposed to her, unless they were fighting about the wedding, and that's when he really started getting pushed, because that's right when he started getting pushed, was because he proposed to her late May, and he turn heel like the beginning of June?
Yeah, June.
So, obviously, maybe there was just so much drama.
Things happen in relationships, and like sometimes people grow apart, and like again, like this girl I'm thinking was probably one of the first pretty girls that paid attention to him. I mean, his real name's Colby. He's from Iowa. You gonna tell me he was rolling in the women growing up? No offense, he's an attractive young man, and no homo or anything like that. But I really don't picture him as someone who grew up gaining a lot of attention from women. So I feel like nowadays he's 28, 29 years old. He's rich. He's on television. And look, like sometimes people stay with someone when they're comfortable, and they may not exactly be happy. There's a lot of variables that happen in relationships, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything that's going on with Seth Rollins and Layla's personal relationships, because I don't. I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, like, I agree, like, yeah, if you're feeling that way, I'm surprised he dogged her an interview, because usually if you're in an unhappy relationship, there's a way to, I guess you could say, suppress it, where you're not gonna bring it up publicly or like dog
He
her to your
seemed
friends.
happy, but he just said that she wasn't supportive. Like after he said that she wasn't supportive, he would say like, "Oh yeah, I love her. We've been together for, so long, and everything." And he says, "I met her when she was waitressing and everything." Because this is his words in another interview. He goes, "I met her when I was 21. She was waitressing. I think she was like 19 or something like that, 19 or 18 when he met her." And he said that he was trying to get her to talk to him, and he said that she didn't believe him when he told her that he was a professional wrestler, because I think he was already almost in ROH, maybe not in ROH, maybe he was, I don't know if he was still doing stuff with Jimmy Jacobs by then. I don't know how young he was when he started in
This
ROH.
was pretty early. He was in there in the early days. So
Yeah,
I think he
like,
came in right after like the Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, CM Punk. Those guys are all in there. I think they were still in there when he came in. I know he worked Bryan there. He worked
yeah.
Ken there. He worked a few people there.
Yeah, and he pretty much said that she wouldn't give him the time of day, and then she finally agreed to go out with him. And he said, and the way she talks about him too, she loves him and everything like that, but when they talk about like his fangirls will say something like to her, or something like, "Oh, like, why aren't you supportive and everything like that," or something like, "Oh, why are you posting these pictures and stuff like that?" And she'll be like, "Oh, I've been living with him for 6 years, mind your own business, blah blah blah." It seems like even though she's not supportive, she really, maybe she thought everything was going okay, and maybe he was just stressed to the max. Maybe he was doing a lot of stuff because he was getting pushed, and the more you get pushed, obviously, the more interviews you do, the more shows you go to and everything like that. So maybe he was just stressed, tired. Maybe he was lonely also, maybe because he wasn't seeing her that much.
And there's the key, Haley, and I think you just hit the nail on the head there. And I mean, wrestlers for years, so many stories of infidelity in the wrestling business. Whether you want to go back to Jake the Snake Roberts, hi Dos, or yeah, I mean, or just so many situations where these. I mean, really, the only wrestler I can think of off the top of my head that stayed with his wife and/or family for the long haul and is probably defined as a great family man is Mick Foley. I mean, yeah, H and Stephanie, but I mean, they're together for business purposes as well,
Yeah,
obviously. And
he also technically cheated on China with her too, so that was kind of still a messy situation too.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Triple H is or Randy Orton. Like you tell me a story how they met. Reminds me very similar how Orton met his ex-wife. She was a waitress. Very similar deal. And again, you're on the road, and he just hit the level where he's really famous, where people can look at him and recognize him with that stupid yellow black hair. No offense.
Which was
you know,
supposedly WWE's idea too. He talks about that too, saying that he does not like it and he wants it one color too.
well, yeah, and that didn't surprise me. It is what it is with their gimmicks. But I mean, look. At the end of the day, I mean, it is a private. Unfortunately, it is a private matter. I feel like this Layla girl is kind of a hypocrite because she's saying she doesn't want the attention and this and that, but yet she has no problem.
Exactly, but yet she's getting the attention.
So it does seem a bit hypocritical there. You know what's interesting? I don't know if you heard this part of the story. I was listening to the Don Tony Kevin Castle podcast this morning. They air Monday nights after Raw. And they were talking about Seth, obviously the big story. They were talking more about that than Raw, and which we are as well. And they said that a few weeks ago, WWE had put out kind of a cease and desist on like inter-office dating, I guess you could say, and which is funny because how many people there are married? I mean, you start with Triple H and Stephanie, or Uso and Naomi, or Brian and Bree, Nikki and Cena aren't married, but they're an item. Like half the guys and girls are either dating or married, and I find that that's almost easier in a way to probably maintain a relationship given the lifestyle that they live. It's not just wrestling; it's entertainment, it's music. When it's comedy. When you're on the road and you're 200 plus days a year, I mean, it's better than it used to be. It used to be almost every day out the year you're on the road, 300 plus days. So they've cooled it down a little bit with the travel, all things considered. Still a lot of travel. But I mean, they're going to Europe, they're going to all these places. The guy is 28, 29 years old, Money in the Bank winner. Obviously there are women like yourself who find him an attractive young man, and like when that attention's coming your way, and again, I go back to this. You tell me he had a lot of attention growing up. I don't know that for a fact.
Mm.
I don't know that for a fact, but
He seemed to be like a nerd when he was, because I seen
yeah,
younger pictures of him and
that's
stuff.
what it strikes me. No offense to him, but like this kind of nerd kind of
Most
guy.
of them are though. CM Punk was like that. AJ was like that. Most of them, most
Brian,
wrestlers are like that.
RVD. Certainly, a lot of wrestlers grew up like that. A lot of wrestling fans grew up like that. So I think a lot of wrestling fans can at least like put themselves in Seth's shoes. Like, what would you do? You're in a 5-6 year relationship. You may or may not be happy. At least there's no kids involved. I
And
will
that's
say.
what the thing is. I felt like maybe he wanted to break up with her and he was stuck because they were already engaged. They were getting married and stuff. It's just who knows? Like, well, how would you go about it? Like, you wanted to break up with her and you've been together with her for 8 years. You're engaged to her already. You're planning a wedding. I don't know how far they were, if they were almost about ready to get married or what, but I mean, in a way, it's just like, how would you go about breaking up with her? I mean, obviously, cheating wasn't the answer, and
No.
obviously that hit him in the ass because that's obviously, but I
I mean,
mean,
there's a lot there, folks, and watch. There's got to be other girls that come out too. I already heard there was one that said she was Snapchatting with him.
yeah, that's the
Uh,
one I was talking about. I don't believe it, but supposedly, I don't know. She said it happened right in the summertime, right after his heel turn. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Maybe he just couldn't take the push. Like, maybe he liked it, but then it just got really stressful, and then
what
Layla was trying to plan the
I don't know
wedding. Who the hell
I don't
knows?
I don't know if it was the fact that he couldn't take the push or that it went ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, all of a sudden I'm a man or better. All of a sudden I'm gonna win Money in the Bank. All of a sudden I'm a big
It
star.
did happen. He did say it happened really, really fast because he even said the Shield thing happened really fast. They made their mind up an hour before the show that he was
Yeah.
turning heel and the Shield was breaking up. And he said that there was really no time to talk and, try to fix it because he says it was happening whether they liked it or not.
Yeah, and that's the wrestling business, especially nowadays. Sometimes things, the Nexus angle was very similar as well. And, look at the Shield was 3 guys in NXT, FCW, whatever you want to call it, that all should have been called up, especially Dean and Seth. All should have been called up way before they were. They were frustrated and they gelled, and they ended up being one of the greatest factions of all time. And look, like, in the long run, Seth will be fine. I feel like it's almost a blessing in disguise. You take the media element and the public scope out of this. It's almost a blessing in disguise this happened because what? Were they going to get married and then end up doing this anyway?
Yeah,
Like,
I know. He's probably a little bit relieved right now. I guess Triple H said he's really emotional right now in an interview. He did an interview on it and he said that he's in a really emotional state and that it's personal. It's a really sticky personal situation and that he's telling like the people not to talk about it and everything like that and he's not going to be punished.
and again, like that's somewhat hypocritical, especially for him to say what he said and use the term Googling China's name and everything. Well, now if you Google Seth's name, what's the first thing that's going to pop
The
up?
thing
Let's
is,
be
though, is the difference is China made that decision. Well, Seth did too, but Seth was hacked. Seth didn't actually post those pictures. China technically did because she, went into porn, and that was, you know. But this should be a good lesson, Seth. Do not have nude pics on your phone next time. How about that? Delete them right after.
and like, especially if you're a celebrity, and I've not seen the pictures. To my understanding, that his face was actually shown in these pictures. It's not
One
like he
of
just.
them, yeah, one of them. One of
It's
them was
not like
shown, and one of them was just his body.
it's not like it was just pictures of his body or anything. And
Yeah.
I don't think he has any really tattoos. Again, I could be wrong,
No, he only
but
has one. It's only on the back of his neck, and he's had that since I think he was like 21. It's that
so like, if he was
Chinese tattoo on the back of his neck, yeah.
if he was just sending out body pics, then they probably wouldn't even figured out it was him. Like, oh, a skinny guy with abs, like that could have been anybody. So
I don't know. I mean, considering how his body frame and stuff like that, because he took a picture a few months ago when he was training too, and he showed a picture of his legs too, his like legs muscles, and it did really look like Seth in the picture.
Yeah, I
But
mean, if you
that's
know,
another
if you
question
know,
people are asking, too, is, oh, the girls, all the fangirls are probably so excited about this. And this is exactly what I said to them. I said, I actually wasn't, and, yes, I looked at the pictures, but I wasn't because of what a mess this situation was, and I was worried about his future. I was worried about his career. I could care less about the pictures. I was worried about his career, and I was worried about how this was going to affect it.
well, I mean, clearly H has his back, so it's not really going to affect his career all that much. And there's a lot of people who could argue that's very hypocritical.
Well, the thing is maybe Triple H understands because of the whole China thing. And he understands that the cheating thing, and he understands, maybe I mean, a lot of people can understand that. Randy can understand that, and
Yep.
supposedly John Cena too cheated on his wife too. I'm not really sure if that's true or
Mickey
not,
James.
but
The rumor is Mickey James broke up their marriage.
yeah.
That's the.
And
Uh,
Batista too. The same with Batista and Melina with the John Morris thing too. So none of
yeah,
these people are, and that's another reason why I think people are way overreacting with Seth. But yet they still love John Cena. They love Randy Orton. They love. It's just like everyone makes mistakes. No one is perfect. He obviously wasn't happy, and it is what it is. He has to learn from it, obviously. I do think he's an idiot for letting it happen, and I think he needed to break up with her first, but it is what it
yeah.
is.
And here's the thing. I mean, and there's the lesson there, folks. If you're truly unhappy, the only person who can really know that is yourself. And you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, is this situation worth it or not? Now, not every relationship is perfect, and sometimes it feels like there's more bad than good. And like, look, like we've all been in bad relationships. We've all kind of faced that. And certainly, like, I can understand where Seth's coming from. I feel like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Enter fame, enter fortune, enter television time, enter Twitter, and everybody, hopping on his train after that. So there's just so many factors here. When you're a celebrity, not just a professional wrestler or a superstar, but when you're a celebrity, I mean, these are the ramifications that can happen. And one could say this actually may help Seth Rollins. One could say more
He is
people
getting
are.
more followers. I have noticed that he's getting a lot more followers, and so is Layla. So I guess it's helping both of them to get
Well, is it
attention.
really helping Layla? Because is she in the spotlight? Is she going to become an actress now? Unless she's going to parlay it from some kind of fame, how is getting more Twitter followers going to help her? You know what I'm saying?
Um,
Like, that's just her looking for attention. When clearly she didn't like the attention.
it definitely was attention seeking. She definitely wanted the attention. I definitely feel like.
Where she probably felt upstaged by the celebrity that Seth was getting. Maybe that was a source of their arguments. Again, I'm just spitballing here. All I know is, people make mistakes in life. No one's perfect. Sometimes it takes a few marriages to get it right, literally. And again, I don't I'm not saying go out and get married and get divorced a bunch of times until you figure it out. Sometimes that's just how it happens. I mean, life is life, and sometimes as people grow apart and they feel stuck for certain reasons and they don't know how to deal. Should he have been up front if he was unhappy? I mean, she was posting some of the text messages to the Sahara girl. Oh, I love you. Oh, I hate my fiance. All this stuff, which like, I can feel for her being a scorned woman reading that and doing what she did. Because scorned women, like in the heat of the moment, the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And that's true. I mean, he made his bed. He's got to lie in it. And unfortunately, she was savvy enough to make it a public thing.
Mhm.
She could have done it with a lot better class. And I'm sure there's a lot of wrestlers, Haley, who have relationship problems, who break up, who don't run to Twitter about it, or wrestlers' wives.
Exactly. I think
So,
and this is also why I think she did this too. She just was so pissed. She was pissed at the fangirls. I heard she was getting death threats already a few months ago from a few fangirls, like Renee was too. And I made a post on this too about wrestling too. Renee's been getting it because of Dean, and Layla was getting it because of Seth. And maybe she was just pissed. Maybe she was just like, oh, maybe if the fangirls, seen your nude pics, and blah, 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 and seen that you cheated on me, maybe they won't love you anymore.
What I don't get is what did he have to benefit in posting a naked picture of Zahara on his account? Because that was the initial post. Why
She
did she?
obviously was probably pissed at him, or pissed at her. Maybe they met. I guess she's being trained by Jimmy Jacobs too, and Jimmy Jacobs really close with Seth. Obviously, they're really good friends. So obviously, Seth and her are probably really close. Obviously, after what happened, so maybe she met her. Maybe she consider her a friend. Who the hell knows?
Boy, Jimmy Jacobs, who was once part of a group called Scum. Unbelievable,
I love Jimmy
huh?
Jacobs. And people are saying this is going to affect his wrestling school too. And I'm just like, I really don't think so because no girls even went to it. It was all strictly guys in the indie shows. And obviously, if it was them, obviously they're going to be mature and be like, do I really care about his personal life or do I care about him training me because he is an amazing and phenomenal wrestler, you know?
Exactly. And don't get it twisted. There's a lot of great female independent wrestlers out there. A lot more than you realize. The indies, there's a lot of them.
Well, I guess he said like the first time like all the girls dropped out, and then the second time it was just all guys. So who knows?
I mean, again, if it's in Iowa, maybe there's the client, maybe there's not a lot of women interested in wrestling in Iowa. So
Yeah.
we're piling on Iowa today. Shout out to Corn Hub.
Oh God, it's just yeah. What was another question I was asked? Forgot. I pretty much answered them all. They pretty much said, oh, and obviously the question I keep getting posted on my Facebook, do I still like Seth? Obviously I like Seth. Obviously I support him. And obviously, to tell you the truth, even though I think he's an idiot for doing this, I feel like I am just a tad bit more on his side just because of the nudes. Like, what would have happened if he posted nudes on her? Like, let's look at the other situation. If she cheated on him and he posted nudes of her, obviously they would be the one getting mad at him, I feel like. Because that's just really childish and sick. And I would be like, seriously, Seth, you really got to do this, and you really got to be immature like that and post your personal shit all over online?
I feel like if he did that, he'd be fired or suspended.
Yeah, well, obviously, because that was not him being hacked. That was him and himself. Yeah, so definitely.
And again, they already made the edict to cut down on pornographic images on Twitter. I believe Titus O'Neil got caught out couple of years ago sending like a dick pic or something, and that's what really caused them to really.
I didn't even hear that. Must have not spread all over. This whole thing is spreading all over, though.
Well, I mean, look, like I feel like it's new to wrestling, but it's been in athletics, and you know I'm a big sports fan as well. I mean, how many NFL players have got caught in Twitter scandals, you know, putting their junk out there? I mean, it's kind of like an athlete thing. I feel like a lot of these athletes, and not just athletes, just you know, people feel entitled that when they're famous, they feel like they can get away with anything. And, you know, that's kind of the society we live in now. We live in a society where everything's on the phone. You know, and that's the other thing, too, the society we live in here. Obviously, the digital factor and things going on Twitter and all of that was a big factor in this. 10, 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't tweets about how, you know, like wrestlers were cheating on their wives. But it happened every night. Every goddamn night. They're on the road, it happened. And I'm not trying to be an apologist for anybody who did it, whether it was Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan or Macho Man Randy Savage. You know, it was just a certain lifestyle that the boys lived. Although Mach did bring Elizabeth on the road with him. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, a lot of them live this cheating lifestyle. Warrior, I think, used to talk about it a lot because Warrior used to do a lot of YouTube videos before he got really like sickly at the end. And I think he kind of, I mean, obviously he called out Hogan for certain stuff, but he was hard on the business for like this kind of the immorality, I guess you could say, that sometimes surrounds it. I mean, it's true. A guy like Mick Foley is the exception. A guy like Roman Reigns, there's a guy getting a lot of heat. There's a guy who I look at and I truly believe he's a family man first.
Yeah,
and
definitely, especially with his daughter. Definitely.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like a Roman apologist or you know, like anything like that. But like I'm just I'm not even talking about Roman Reigns. I'm about Joe and Noah And I feel like maybe someone like him. I mean, even The Rock got divorced, and he hasn't been married since then. So I mean, who knows?
That's why it's
You know,
almost better to date in the business, because then you see them more, you're with them more, and it seems to work out better.
yeah. I mean, you look at successful relationships. Triple H and Stephanie have to be on top, I guess you could say, of all of them. And you know, obviously Nikki and Cena, and Brie and Brian, and Moose and Naomi, and
Yeah.
you know, Renee Young and Ambrose. And it does seem like more these relationships. I mean, there's certainly been a plethora who haven't worked either. And again, you look at like the Edge situation. What's that? It's funny, like Seth's becoming more and more.
And we lost Joe. Yeah, he's definitely seeming more and more like Edge every day, and it's just like, I mean, I seen the meme that Joe posted too of Edge saying like, "Oh, Seth, you know, when I passed you the torch, I didn't mean this torch." Because obviously, you know, with Edge cheating and everything like that, and Lita cheating, and that's, you know, what's so crazy about it is that's why Lita had to retire a little bit earlier than what she wanted to. She even said that she was just getting so much hate, and she was getting slut comments and just horrible stuff shouted at her on a regular basis. And you know what? It's funny because I was thinking maybe since they were turning Roman heel, they could have turned Seth face, and that's obviously out of the question now because this
I
is
wouldn't
not
say
the time to be turning him face. He's going to get way more heel heat now, so you might as well make him an even a bigger asshole in character, you know?
I don't know about that because I feel like there's going to be guys who maybe identify with them and be like, you know what, good for you. And there's going to be women who maybe backlash, and there's
It
going to be
seems
women
like
who.
the more girls are on his side than guys right now.
That's it. You know
Yeah.
why that is? I feel like that I think is just a personal opinion on him. Again, I
Like the
was saying,
guys are all saying he's small and everything, and Layla's gorgeous, and she didn't
I saw
deserve that, and freaking the girls are saying, oh, Seth, you know, was unhappy, and Layla's just a bitch for doing that, you know, she's an immature little bitch, you know, I've read it all.
I mean, you look at Edge. You know, again, like Seth seems to be becoming more and more like Edge as he's progressing
Yeah, I
here.
talked about your meme.
Yeah, and you know, Edge was one of my favorites of all time. I probably felt about Edge probably how you feel about Rollins now, especially when he was on the come up and he was you know, he was around for years, longer than Seth before he hit the main events. And it was starting to get to the point where, like, all right, when is he going to get his shot? He won the Money in the Bank. And then the whole Lita thing happened, and, you know, obviously WWE made a decision there. Matt Hardy was not in the wrong, but they fired Matt Hardy. You know, that was a weird little thing that happened there.
Yeah, they obviously had to think of what was going to happen. Obviously, with them both working for WWE, they had to fire someone, and obviously Edge was more on top at that time, and Matt Hardy they didn't have anything for, supposedly. But obviously with this isn't really going to affect Seth because, I mean, it is, but it really isn't because Layla obviously is not a diva. It might affect, you know, keep forgetting her name, Zyra, something like that, Sahara. She obviously just started WWE. She's in NXT developmental. She hasn't even came up yet, so who knows what's gonna do to her? I mean, obviously, you know. If I was Seth, though, I
Yeah,
would stay
I mean,
for a while.
I feel like she's going to get the Matt Hardy treatment. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
I feel like she's going to get the Matt Hardy treatment. I feel like Seth will be fine. Seth will still be a future world champion. Like, again, with Edge, it actually helped Edge's character because it helped create the rated R persona. So maybe, I mean, Seth comes off a little squirrely, if you know what I mean. Like a little Weasley. Like I think that's why guys don't like him as much. He comes off kind of like a weasel in character. There's nothing wrong with that. He's a heel. That's how he's supposed to come off.
That's pretty much how they book him, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you know, I feel for his family. I'm glad there's no kids involved because I feel like if there was kids involved, this would be a lot different of an issue. This is two adults who aren't married, who are engaged, who now, you know, all that happens is they move on with each other's lives. And I wish her well. I hope she can Get over. Honestly, you want to know what she should do? Get off Twitter. Get
Mhm.
off Twitter
Definitely get
now,
off Instagram
because
too, because she still has her Instagram up too.
yeah, I mean, or at least like get off social media and just like make
There's a
stuff, make a
couple of
private
fake
one.
ones, I think. They're saying that she created a new account and it's private and she's following Seth and the girl. I really don't know. They're showing
Yeah.
it and it's like a black photo, so like she's not showing her face and she's the only two people she's following is Seth and I just to me that's just catty. It's just like just stop. Okay, you already did what you wanted to do. Just get off Twitter, whatever.
Exactly. And, the lesson here, people, is look, if you're unhappy, like, you can always change it. And this is a message to a lot of people out there, a lot of friends, a lot of family members. If you're unhappy, look yourself in the mirror and say, I can change this, because you are in control of your own destiny. No one else is. If you're unhappy, do something about it. Don't be passive aggressive. Don't cheat on your significant other and then expect things to get better, because at the end of the day, that's not going to fix anything. And obviously right now it's caused Mr. Rollins more harm than good. So I guess that's my little PSA for the day, is that, if you're unhappy in your current relationship, whether you're married, whether you're straight, bisexual, homosexual, what transgender, whatever you are, whatever you're into, if you're not happy, don't use a crutch, don't make excuses, just follow your heart, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you happy. And at the end of the day, like cheating on someone, it's just you see the problems that a situation like this can cause. It can affect you in the workplace, and this goes for everyday folk like you and me, not just famous wrestlers and actors and everybody like that. You really got to be careful in this day and age, because anybody can ruin your life. All it takes is one hit of a button to ruin your life. It is not 1980. It is not 1990s, where things were a lot different. And certainly the wrestling business is kind of showing that. I did have to get going. I do have some stuff I wanted to promote first. I don't know if you want to continue and close out this video without me. Real quick, Strike Zone really blowing up. This Thursday on the Strike Zone, Haley, we're going to be interviewing Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster. And by the way, anybody who wants to call in or listen, we will not be taking Chris Benoit or Nancy Benoit questions. Anybody who's, obviously he's connected to that situation. It's strictly a promotional interview. However, we're going to be interviewing him. We're going to be doing a live event, a live podcast at ICW in New York City. Samoa Joe's on the card. Tommy Dreamer's on the card. Looks like we're going to be interviewing at least one of those gentlemen, among others. And there's a bunch of interviews to come in the upcoming weeks in the Strike Zone. We got Kenny and Mikey from the Spirit Squad calling in. And we're going to be giving away free tickets this week and in the coming weeks to the Boston Pro Marathon Wrestling event, which is going to be in Boston in March, I believe March 7th through the 10th. I know it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 shows in 3 days. Shout out to Spencer J. Warts, the promoter of the event. And we will also be at the Rhode Island Convention Center in June for a live broadcast, and it looks like, I don't want to jinx ourselves, but it looks like we're going to be sitting down and interviewing Bill Goldberg.
That's awesome.
So yeah, big news coming from the Strike Zone. Shout out to the sponsors, Immortal Seats, the Wrestling Universe, and all the great sponsors of Immortal Seats and of the Strike Zone. And Haley, thank you for allowing me to promote it. Seth Rollins, get your shit together, boy. Get your shit together.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. And don't forget to join our Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. And I actually think I'm actually going to do a NXT review tomorrow, too. So
yeah, it's going to be a good one. Can't wait to watch it.
Alrighty. Bye, guys.